webinar, guys. This is a real interactive webinar. My name is Brad Williams, managing partner here at Trade Ideas. Happy to take you on a tour of the product and really answer any questions that you may have. I see a lot of new people here in the room. We had a real major promotion last month where we expired our lifetime premium license, and that did result in a lot of new subscribers. So I do expect this to be interactive. I'm going to start off, well, let me just start off here by letting you know that we are not a registered investment advisor. We're a software technology firm, so any of the symbols, stocks that I talk about here today shouldn't be construed as investment advice or trade recommendations, really just showing you how to use the software. We do have a trading room during the day, which, if I can talk a little bit about the trading room, it's pretty fantastic. Leader today, trading moderator Andy Linloff, and Andy and I go way back along with Steve. I think it was the same ad that we answered back in late 1998. Was Andy in our class, Steve?
He was a month behind us, and our class leader, who was teaching that class, Brad?
I believe that was Dan.
That's how it all shapes up, everybody.
Yeah, so it's really nice. We all kind of, and Steve and I go way back even before that. We're fraternity brothers back at USC and worked together for about 7 years after that. And when that business sold, we were looking for something to do, and we saw this ad answering, I want to trade stocks, I want to trade Yahoo. How do you do it? And we didn't really know. We knew how to trade. We traded commodities, and we've traded stocks, but day trading, active trading, getting in and out, using leveraged capital, that was all something relatively new. And we answered that ad and took the training course that Dan, our CEO, gave us at that time. He was kind of doing around the country teaching of how to be a SOS bandit, if you will. And so that's kind of how this all started. And then today, our normal trading room moderator, Barry, who's a fantastic trader and moderator, he's out on vacation and gave us an opportunity to bring Andy on board and into the team, and super excited about that. So for those of you that are not aware, I'm going to kind of deviate away from the presentation real quickly. I'm going to take you to our website and just show you where to go. There's a menu item up at the top that says Live Trading Room. This is where you want to go. It's a screen share, live on the mic. It's free to everybody. We certainly do hope that people that find value in the Trade Idea software take out a subscription, but please check this out. It's an incredible value, and it's not just one or two moderators that are trading. There's a lot of good traders in that room sharing some great ideas. So let me head on back to the presentation. So that kind of does segue into this slide right here, where you're really never alone. I'll talk about Trade Ideas and what we do, but Trade Ideas, we've been doing this for about 14 years. It's an incredibly in-depth product. It's a platform, if you will. It's not just a software program or application. I mean, there are so many different layers to this tool. And so that being said, we don't want to have anybody overwhelmed, and we do have a variety of resources, weekly webinars, and this is the schedule that we have right here, and then we have that daily trading room. And it's not just making trading calls. Barry and Andy and Steve and everybody are interacting with the community and answering the questions along the way of giving the ideas. That's why we're here. We're looking for stock ideas in real time, and our software is the best in the business at doing that. Let's get right to the agenda. So I'm going to give you a brief demonstration of Trade Ideas Pro. I mean, I could spend hours doing it because it's so complex, but everybody that signs up and pays for a subscription is entitled to a personal one-on-one training session where we connect remotely to your desktop, train you on the tool, show you how to use it, set it up, set the windows up, show you how to configure it if that's the depth that you want to get into it. So we don't just leave you on your own. And then there's continual support, a support forum, and all kinds of resources to help you out. I'll talk a little bit about the premium functionality versus the non-premium functionality, and I'll just show you that when I'm showing you the software. I also want to give you some visibility into what we're working on in the lab. I mean, Trade Ideas, for the last 14 years, we have not stopped in our innovation and our development, and we're definitely not stopping now. Over the last year, we released our artificial intelligence signals, which have been producing some incredible calls, but the management of those trades have been a little bit suspect. The ability to see a winning trade move into a losing trade because there's a time stop on there. I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing to compensate for that, and it's really incredible stuff. So I'll show you that, and then time permitting, I'll show you some how to take a top list window like the trend change lubricant, turn that into an alert window. So you can kind of manipulate the data. So, and then I'll take questions. This, like I said, it's your webinar. So probably at the top of the hour, about 20 minutes from now, hopefully I'm done kind of going through this, and then we can just take some questions. Alrighty, so demonstration of TI Pro. I love this tool. I mean, it started out, 14 years ago as just an alert window, and we built all these different visualization components on it, all in the hopes it give you the ability to spot an opportunity in real time before it's really made that move, letting you pull some alpha out of the trade, if you will. So what we're looking at right now is we're looking at our welcome screen. It's something I don't think we really ever talk about, this particular component of the software. You can pull it up right from the new menu item, the W for the welcome screen. And this is a little tool that lets you get started right away without knowing how to configure anything. The first tab that we have at the top is our channels tab. And it's just like our channel bar, where we have these different themes that we put together, a variety of different windows, different types of windows, all showing you data that's relevant to that particular theme. So pre-market, all of them aren't here that you would see on the channel bar, but a good number of them are here, and so you can really see what we're offering from these predefined layouts. If I wanted to look at the social media layout, I can just click on that particular button, and it's going to load up the social media layout, the social media channel, if you will. So let me just go back to the toolbar up at the top. Did the quick minimization. So I'm going to go back in and open up the welcome screen just to go back and show you this little component of the tool. So this is the channels where you see the channel bar, but then we have the strategies tab, and the strategies tab lets you kind of dive into the different windows that we have. So whether it's an alert window, which is a chronologically based window, it's giving you an event-based notification. You can select any predefined strategies that we have right here, and we give you a little bit of an indication. So for instance, if I select bullish, I can hit the new daily high, and it'll give me a description of what that is, and then I can launch that window. Same thing with a top list window. And a top list window is a ranked list of stocks. It's not really looking for a notification. It's basically looking at all the filters that I have and the sort order that I have defined and presenting me with a snapshot view of the stocks that all meet that criteria. And it's really nice and interactive because I can click on any of the columns and resort that data to really bring the most interesting events or the most interesting signals right to the top. And then the multi-strategy window is a window that we created that allows you to take any number of alert windows, alert strategies, and kind of embed them into a single window component. So these three different windows all work together to really bring you the views, the different views that we have in the channels. And then if I go to the tools over here, this is showing you the different windows itself, and these windows allow you to really configure it. This is like a piece of clay where you can take a complete blank window and assign different alert triggers, filter events, stock price filters, volume filters to create a strategy. So we let you hit the ground running with our channel bar and our welcome screen, but everything in this software is fully configurable. So you can change any of the settings, any of the filter settings to your desire. So I'm going to go ahead and kill the welcome screen here and just really kind of focus on the channel bar. This is a tool that's kind of like the remote control to the market, if you will. If I go to the surge channel, these are a variety of different windows, multi-strategy, top list, alert windows, our charting, which is available in the software in the standard subscription, as well as a compare account window. So all these windows are kind of combined into a layout view that are all looking for surge events, if you will. Strong price action, strong volume action, and it's sitting here listening for any of these events, and when it happens in real time, you can just click on that signal and take a look at the event that occurred. And on the charting, we have these blue annotations that really highlight when that event occurred and in which particular candle that event occurred. So if you're clicking in a multi-strategy or an alert window, remember those are our event-based windows. That would show up on a chart here with a blue annotation. So the ability to peruse the market, when you come in at the beginning of the day, you might want to select the pre-market channel to see the stocks that are gapping up or gapping down or moving in the pre-market, kind of get you prepared for what may be happening when that market opens. And then after that, you can, like I said, you can move over to the social media channel, for instance. This is what's being talked about on social media. In particular, at StockTwits, we have a direct feed into StockTwits. And then, like all of the data that we look at, whether it's price data, volume data from the exchanges, or data from StockTwits, we take that data in real time and we database it. And in real time, we create statistical baselines that allow us to know what's normal and abnormal behavior for every stock on every time frame. And those metrics are critical in being able to point out interesting events in real time. So for instance, on this social media channel that we're looking at, there's a column on each one of these windows right here, the StockTwits relative activity. It's this particular column that's that new data that we create. See, we don't get that from StockTwits. We just get the number of tweets and mentions for a stock, but we take that and we now create a data point that gives us some type of relevancy to what normally happens in a stock. And I could look at a stock like BSPM, and this stock right here, it had an incredible day today, a lot of volume, but moreover, this stock is being talked about, I don't even know if I can translate this number, 116,000% of normal. So there's a lot of equating to stock volume and social volume. They do really mimic each other quite a bit. But when you're talking about analyzing news and events like that, the social volume and social data is really critical and really interesting data to integrate with the regular normal structured data that we would get from the NASDAQ and from NYSE. But for instance, let me go into the volume channel right here. And if I'm talking about data from the major exchanges like NASDAQ and NYSE, we do the very same thing with their data. It's data now that they don't have. For instance, we know what the normal 5-minute volume on every stock is. We know what the normal 1 minute, 2 minute, 10 minute, 30 minutes. So we know what all these normal data points are, and it allows us to really highlight the abnormal. So this multi-strategy window is looking for stocks that are moving up and breaking out on significant volume. And that volume can be volume that's cumulative to right now or to the end of the day. It could be volume that's looking at a particular candle bar. And so we're looking at all of those things and giving you the ability to parse that data. It's really taking big data and giving you the ability to do something with it. And hopefully that's something that you're doing with it, is using it to make money in the marketplace. But like this relative volume column, this is one of my favorite data points. It really does illustrate kind of everything that I'm talking about from creating special data. This data point right here, if I was looking at it, say, in the middle of the day, it knows what normal volume is at every point in time for a stock. And so it uses a simple ratio calculation. So a value of, say, 3 is just telling me that F-cell is doing 3.3 times normal volume cumulative to that point in time. At that time, or at right now at the market close, this actually stopped at the market close, but that last 5-minute candle, that was 1,500% of normal. The last 30-minute candle was 782% of normal. And then you have that more simplified relative volume. So it's really all this special data that allows us to hunt and find these special stocks that are on the move. And probably I'd say the very latest creation that we did, and this came to market about, I want to say 7 months ago, was our artificial intelligence. And that's taking this data. And even before I get into the artificial intelligence, I want to show you kind of the foundation of what we did, what we were doing before we put computers on this problem. So we created, back, I think this was about 8 years ago, we created a backtesting tool, a tool that would allow you to create a strategy in an alert window and backtest it and see, how would that strategy have performed if I would have performed a set of instructions anytime a signal had occurred. How would I have done? And so this is an example of that. This is an alert window. It's a low volume, unusual down move window. I'm going to go into the configuration so you can just get an idea of what we're doing. We're looking for an event. That event is going to be a standard deviation breakdown. It's kind of confusing mathematical term for a move that's a down move that's far greater than normal by a magnitude of 2 if we're talking standard deviations. And then I've got a bunch of other filters on here. If I go to the summary tab and stretch this down a little, you can see all the different filters. And you don't need to kind of commit this to memory or look at it, but suffice it to say, there are a variety of filters that paint a picture as to what is happening in this stock when that standard deviation breakdown occurs. And if all of these filters are satisfied and this alert triggers, that symbol will come into the window. So that's the strategy. And so if you right-click on any of the alert windows, you get the backtest strategy. Now this is a premium feature to the software. All the users, if you're a regular subscriber, you still get to demo the backtesting out. I think we give you 10 trial uses of the tool. So if I go to backtest right here, this is where I input the instructions. So I tell it, what is it that I want it to do? Well, I'm telling it right here that I only want it to execute trades between 6:45 and 11 o'clock. So I'm on the West Coast. We're not trading for the first 15 minutes of the market, and I'm not trading for the last, or I'm not initiating any positions for the last 2 hours of the market. I'm going to hold this trade for 45 minutes. That's what I'm going to hope to do, unless I get stopped out with a 50-cent stop loss. I don't have a profit target assigned. I'm going to go back the full spectrum, which is 64 trading days. That's one full quarter. And I'm going to look at this data for a quarter and see exactly if I was to buy anytime a signal occurred in this window, hold it for 45 minutes unless the stop takes me out, how will I do? So I'll hit the simulate buy here. Now it's going to crunch some data. It's going back for this full quarter, these 3 months, and it's going to look at every single trade or every single symbol that popped up in this window, and it's going to look at what I would have done if I held it, implemented the stop. And when this comes in, I'm going to be presented with some data, some graphical data, as well as some numerical data. And the numerical data is going to give me a notion of what's my profit factor. Like what's the sum total of all the winning trades over the sum total of all the losing trades. So that's an incredibly good number, incredibly good. Now remember, this is a low volume, unusual down move. These are scary trades to get into, right? This stock is breaking down and you're saying, I'm going to buy it right here because the computer is telling me that statistically this is a good trade. The sample set over the last quarter had 50 trades. 78% of those 50 trades were winners. The average winner to loser ratio, $1 to 40 cents. That's good. 2 to 1 is what I like. You know, that's a good metric to have. And then the return based on your equity and the dollar value that you're trading. You could change this into a share size if you wanted to trade 200 shares a pop or something like that. And then you could hypothesize your commission. What's your commission? What's your slippage? A strategy like this, which is a low volume down move, I'm going to say a slippage of 10 cents would be far more reasonable. And you can see the chart update. So my top line here is the gross, if I didn't have to take into consideration commission. So commission is here. Let me change that to, say, $10 commission. And you can see by putting these values in, does that $10 commission really affect my bottom line? Not really. I only had 50 trades. That's not that many trades for a strategy like this. And then after slippage, well, this is my net, starting with 50,000, ended up with 58. And then we give you the calendar heat map, and we did that. This is kind of what we gave to the community to use, and only a few people could take it and really do something with it because you got to really spend a lot of time with it, quite honestly. The real power of this backtesting tool is the optimization tab. So let me explain this really quickly because this is really what Holly is doing, what the AI is doing after hours every single day when it's looking at all the different strategies. So I haven't really spent a lot of time talking about AI, so I don't want to get into that too much. But let me show you this optimization. So in the price point right here, remember this is a strategy that is already very well optimized, so I don't expect to find a lot of negativity here. But this gives me the ability to look at the data, all the data. So I'm looking at price data here, and I'm breaking it into $5 intervals, looking at, so I have a minimum price on my strategy of $15. That's why it starts at $15 here. So in $5 increments, I can see how did each segment do? How is my profitability, my profit factor, my win percentage? How much did I make on average? What was my total? And how many trades make up that set? So price is pretty easy to understand, right? Maybe if this showed that I was losing terribly, it was all red, I'd say, hey, I don't want to trade anything over $55. That's the information it conveys. If I go to time of day, I'm breaking this down into 30-minute intervals. If I break it into 15-minute intervals, I can kind of see exactly how I did at the different time settings throughout the day. When I initiated a position at 8:45 Pacific time, I didn't do very good, but there was only one trade I lost, and that's giving me the data. Remember, this is optimized, so everything looks fairly good right now. If I go to the other filters, and this is what Holly is doing after hours, she's going through every single filter that we have and looking at the data and saying, is this 1 minute RSI of 13 or 14, is this a good metric to have on this strategy? And it goes through all our strategies, all our filters, and really uses this mechanism to figure out how to optimize the strategy. So let me use that as kind of the segue to move over to Holly and talk a little bit about what we're doing there. So this will take just a moment to come up. Okay, so let me talk about what we're looking at right now. Open this window a little bit bigger. Okay, so every day we have a bank of 40 different strategies that are what we call in the hopper. These are 40 different base strategies that have different concepts, looking for some stocks are breaking out, some stocks are pulling back, some stocks are hitting a 52-week high and we're going to hypothetically short them. I mean, there are all these different concepts and base strategies that are in the system. And the system, after the market closes every day, goes through every one of those strategies and every one of our filters and decides how it should best modify that strategy to make it more profitable, more optimized, and just a better strategy, if you will. So it does that for every single strategy on every single filter, and it uses we try to make it kind of simple to explain. It uses a combination of in-sample and out-of-sample data. What this does is it allows us to avoid what typically happens when you take data like this and massage it and use it to come up with a better strategy. It's called curve fitting. And we avoid curve fitting because we use two sets of data. We use a set of data that we're optimizing on, and then we analyze the optimization on a completely new set of data. So at the end of every day, after it's gone through these strategies, changed the configuration, optimized them, it then has kind of a test amongst each other. They all sit there and compete based on their out-of-sample metrics, and you have to have a certain out-of-sample profit factor. You have to have a certain out-of-sample win percentage for those strategies to make the list the next day, and that's what we see here today. This is a result. These strategies are a result of what happened yesterday after the market and going through all these different strategies. And we're presented with these strategies that when you log in at the beginning of the day, nothing has fired. They're all completely empty. So no trades have been triggered. And as trades get fired, they will appear in this open positions window over on the left. And as they get closed out for a variety of reasons, either because of a profit target being hit, because of a stop loss being hit, or because of a timed exit being hit, those are the ways that it would exit, and it'll move from the open position view over here over to the closed position. So we've been doing this for about 6-7 months now and had some incredible success. So really, really good success compared to the spiders, and we've been tracking this. But you know, we've noticed some deficiencies in the program, right? And we've noticed that this software does a fantastic job of spotting these opportunities. It finds great trades that perform throughout the day, but the management of those positions is a little bit suspect. You know, we all come from a trading background, and as we've been watching Holly over these 6 months, you know, sometimes we sit there and we kind of cringe a little, and you know, we see a stock that was up 60 cents, cheap stock, you know, maybe it was a $10 stock and up 60 cents or something like that, and it has a time stop of an hour, and the market just turns around and starts capitulating, and that 60-cent profit turns into a 60-cent loser because we may have had a 60-cent stop loss on there. And as a trader, nobody would do that. That's not prudent, and you definitely want to avoid that. And so as we've been watching this and notating her results, you know, we've been also making mental notes of what we want to do with this. And I'm going to show, so right here, this is today's results. Today's results, and I don't want to just kind of I don't want to just rest on the end profitability, because today was a far greater day than losing 54 cents. The reality of it, the signals that were spotted today really did provide some incredible opportunities. One of the calls, for instance, SIG, and a lot of this went on in the trading room. This was all being bantered about. And Holly said this is a signal, this is a footprint, something's happening with this stock. It was a very early indication. It happened, well, if I look at this, the signal went off at 6:50 my time, 20 minutes after the market opened. And inevitably, this stock right here was stopped out. It got stopped out for a 49-cent loss. And that's not anything that we want to see. And so today in the background I had our other rules running. So we put in some profit save rules and some time expiration rules that are really sophisticated, really interesting, and it goes a long way to acting like a human would act when they're trading. So let me show you and kind of give you a highlight of what the difference between these two versions would be. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of get this back to the way that it was. I'm going to go up to my tool area, go to connection, and I'm going to drop into my super secret test server here. So now as it does that, it's not just a magic server that turns stuff red to green, but it's really utilizing some really interesting methodology. I guess that's the easiest way to explain it. So I want to expand this column out a little bit here. And you'll see some exit reasons that are not visible in your version of the AI. We hope to release this next week. I'm really pleased with the progress, so I don't see any reason why it's not going to be happening. But I've added a couple more reasons or abilities to exit the software. And it's not perfect yet, and we're still playing with the formula, and we're going to give you the ability to toggle back and forth to be able to look at what would be the normal type of timed expiration, but moreover, you're going to be able to see exactly as a trader would do it. When a stock starts to pull back after making some money, we're going to lock in the profit. And at that point, you can choose to take a little bit off the table at that point, or completely, exit out of the position. It's really a very individual thing. And the way we designed Holly, we never designed Holly to be a black box. Generates a signal, take the trade, get out when she gets out. The market's just not like that. We kind of jokingly named her Holly Grail, but that's a joke, right? There is no Holy Grail, and but what we are doing is we're spotting great opportunities, and with the new implementation of these smarter exits, whether it's the time stop decay or the profit save feature, it's going to go a long way to educating people and showing people better techniques in trade management, if you will. So I'm really excited about this particular aspect of the technology, and really look to getting this in your hands very shortly. Coupled with the, like for instance, the SIG. Let me pull up SIG again. And so now I'm on that other server. It's interesting. I spotted this one, and this was one that I was watching, and actually set a price alert on it and participated in this particular trade. And there are a lot of different ways to use the software. We talk about it all the time inside of the trading room, but it's the non-exit profit. Holly's giving you an indication of some type of actionability in a stock, but timing can't always be predicted perfectly. And so having this non-exit profit column does give you the ability to really kind of keep track of all of her signals that she generated throughout the day, because you'll be really surprised at the timing. This was something, it spotted this happens all the time. It spotted the signal, time expires a little bit, you don't know what's happening in the market here. Holly doesn't know what's going to happen in the market here. But when the market started to creep up, that's when it just popped. And that's what we're looking for, and that's how this software, especially in the AI component of it, is really designed to assist you and help you. Another thing that you can look at in looking at this type of software and deciding where and when you should participate in a trade, if I just go to the active strategies, for instance, and you go to the profitability, it's like fade the 52-week high. It had 10 trades today. You notice the profitability wasn't that good. It wasn't really that strong. And on the last few fade the 52-week highs, that may not have been something that you would want to participate in just because those weren't the trades that were working today. But the great thing about the AI is always trying, and she doesn't get tired, and she's sitting there trying to put trades on to convey information to you to participate in, and maybe what Barry does, he uses this in an entirely different way. Everybody uses it differently, but Barry really likes to focus on the closed positions. He likes to let kind of these positions kind of peter out, close up, and then use that non-exit P&L to really spot the timing for that. So I'll kind of leave Holly and AI right there. Really excited about this enhancement. Like I said, it should be in the software next week. I do want to show you a little trick, and this is something that, before, I guess we're at the top of the hour, but I'm still going to show you anyway, because this is the trend change lubricant factor window. This is a top list, and the top list window, if I can grab my mouse here. So the top list window updates every 30 seconds. It'll give you that snapshot, real-time display of information, but it'll update only every 30 seconds, and you as an end user have to be somewhat diligent. There are typically up to 100 symbols that can populate inside of one of these windows, but as an end user of a top list window, you have to kind of decide which sort order you want to look at. Do I want to look at stocks that are on the high of the day, stocks that are on their high of the 30 minutes or may be on their low of the 30 minutes? This is something that you have to decide, but you could take something like this trend change lubricant window, which, by the way, if I go into configure, I'm going to do this just to know what's going on here. I want to look at the master sort order, the server sort order, if you will, of this window, and I'm looking at percent of float traded today. Now, I need to know that because when I turn this into an alert window, I want to add one filter on it. This is confusing, but it's the net result that I want you guys to see right here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up a new alert window, and I'm just going to hit OK. So I'm just going to tuck this guy over here on the right. Now I'm going to take this trend change lubricant. I'm going to sort on that percent of float traded today, and I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom, see what the value is here. Okay, this is a mental note that I'm making. This is my server sort order. So remember, I'm only grabbing the top 100 symbols, or up to the top 100 symbols that are ranked on the percent of float traded today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and right-click in this window. I'm going to go to Collaborate. I'm going to go to Copy All. I'm going to take that, and I'm going to come over to this window, and I'm going to go to Collaborate, and I'm going to Paste All. So what I effectively did is I took all the filter settings that are set up in this window and dropped them in over here. Now there are a couple things I need to do to this window to make it more relevant. So let's do that. Let's right-click in this window. Let's go to Configure. And I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to take out a bunch of columns because I don't really care about a lot of these columns here. We'll just keep it like that. I kind of wanted to simplify it. Now what I need to do is we need to decide, what am I looking at here? Do I want to see stocks that are making new highs? Sure, let's look for stocks that happen to be making new highs that are in this trend change lubricant. So now we've taken this top list and we're going to turn it into an actionable window that's only going to fire a signal anytime one of these stocks is making a new high. So we'll come here, and the one other thing that I need to do is I need to go into percent of float traded today, and I'm going to put a minimum value of 1. And I'm only going to do that. I could have gone down to 0.3, but I'm just going to, I think this is a good value to stop it at. I'm going to hit OK, and we'll call this new highs. Oh, one more thing I need to do. Again, because this was a top list window, there are a couple columns. Well, it was originally a top list window. There are a couple columns that aren't here that I want to have available. I'm going to bring in type, which is that new high icon, and I'm going to also bring in time. So both of those, move them over to the left and hit OK. And now I'll just kind of organize this as I would. Probably for me, I would go into properties and put it on text headers. I think that's a little bit better. So now I've got this real-time window. Now the last alert that occurred was 7 minutes before the close, but I could take this and I could look at, say, a history for today. And I could see all the stocks here that were making new highs at the relevant time. So if you guys want that window, you can just shoot us an email, but you should be able to configure it too. There was another window that I was watching today, and it was on Andy's screen in the trading room, and it was fantastic. It was an incredible window, and sometimes, simplicity is the best. I'm going to go ahead.
Where did this window come from, Brad? I can't recall quite.
I don't know. I saw it on Andy's.
He may have developed it himself. I'm going to have to ask him.
And I haven't even really dug into it, but let's look at it. It's a Trade Ideas Market Watcher. It's a multi-strategy window. If we look at it, how simple can you get? There are just 2 strategies in it. If we look at the upside one, just go into configure. So we're just looking for some type of bullish move. We're looking for a new high or a running up alert, running up intermediate, and then let's see what the filters he has on here. Hide unused is the easiest way to kind of look at that. And really looking, it's kind of a turbo break-ish kind of window. Looking at that 5-minute volume bar, wanting it to be 4 times normal. Again, it's amazing what you can do with simplicity. And you don't need to kind of over-engineer stuff to really find relevant results. Okay, so I am, my agenda, okay, I feel bad because we kind of bled into the top of the hour here, but I want to answer some questions. I want to make sure that people are getting the answers to their questions. So,
yeah, Brad, there's a question there, the long one there from Mickey. I mentioned that we might start off with his question. He's got, some, can we do this, this, and this? And I was just wondering, if you might be able to address that question because there's a couple items in there that could be interesting.
Okay, let me read it. The platform can scan specific parameters that I can program. For example, I want the scanner to find me a 15-minute hammer that's at the low of the day. The tail itself lists 45. So, okay, there are a couple things here. This is a little bit more detailed than our candle pattern alerts will allow, but there are a couple things that you can do here. So. This gentleman's looking to find a hammer, and he wants to find the hammer at the low of the day. And what a lot of people want to do in a scenario like that is they want to combine alerts. They want to say, okay, if my new low goes off and my hammer goes off, will this give me what I'm looking for? Well, let me show you what you would do here. If we go into a new alert window, and I'm going to start from scratch, so I'm going to basically clear out all the settings, and I'm going to type in hammer. And you can pick the time frame that you're looking for. In this case, if we were going to do, say, a 10-minute hammer, I'll just add that alert. Did I not start from scratch? Start from scratch. Go to my alerts, do the 10-minute hammer. And then we have a lot of times, more often than not, 90% of the time, we have a filter, to mimic almost every alert. So, for instance, instead of now combining the new high alert, what I would want to do is I'd want to bring in my position and range. So this is a filter here. It's also a visible column that's a graphical indicator, but the position and range allows me to determine where that stock is in relationship to its intraday high and low. So using this filter right here, I could say this hammer now needs to be at the bottom, say 10% of the day. So this right here is going to keep it in the lower 10 percentile of its daily range. So that's how I would configure these two together. Anything else that you see there, Steve? I'm going to continue to read up.
Okay, I think I've been hitting a lot of the questions while you've been talking.
So Moshe, I'm glad you, or Moshe, one of the two. I'm glad you asked that question. That really does touch on our, well, there are 2 ways you can do it. You could just simply have our position and range column up, right? And so if you had this up, and if you took off the graphical indication, it's going to give you a value. Anything over 100 is going to be on that high of the day. But I think more of what you're looking for is you want to see really a custom filter. And from that perspective, I have the ability to bring in, well, let's see, if I could go into configure here, I go to search, and I type in high. So I think I may have deleted it, but you can have all these, today's high right here. It's a custom filter that I put in, U7. I'll show you how I got to it, and I can just show that column. I'll hit OK. It's going to add a column to the right here. And so now you can see today's high. You could create a custom filter to give you the distance from today's high. I think we actually have that as a filter, so you don't even need to do that. But a lot of different ways to get the data. So with respect to the custom filters, let me bring in a web page. Take you to the website, right? So right from the website you go to, let me make sure I'm logged in. Under the right account. Okay, so let me go back to the home page, kind of show you how to get there. Go to the support tab. From the support tab, we're going to go into traders area, and we're going to select the formula editor. Now the formula editor, if you don't have any formulas, this is all going to be blank right here, and down at the bottom there's a little help document. It's a little PDF. It's about a 5-pager that explains the syntax and what you can do. So for instance, if I was looking at the high of the day, I mean, it's so simple. Let me search for high. I think it was U7, right, that we were looking at. A lot of highs. So U7. It's really simple. If I go in and edit it, this is really the code, and we give you, in that help file, we give you all the different variables that you can use, and you can just bring that in. Once you save it, it's then assigned a unique code to it. So we give you 100 different places that you can put in a custom filter, so you could have the high, the low, the bid size, the ask size. You could put the volume over the 1 minute in shares and not percentage. I mean, there's so much data that you can bring in. And so let me go to return to list here. And when I say, you really don't need to be a programmer to do this, but I certainly do this for people. So if you do want a custom filter, you just shoot us an email and we can add it for you if it's something that can be done. Now, this is not the end-all be-all. I can't do everything with this custom formula editor. There are definitely defined variables that I can use, but they're all listed right here, and it does give you so much power. And in fact, when you're looking at this trend change lubricant window, if I was to take off the text headers, get back to the icon state, well, you can see in this particular window, U99, the main genesis of this window, the percent of float traded today, I mean, that's a custom filter. So super powerful with what you can do. And then, for instance, if you were to, let me just open up, say, a new alert window again. I'll go to search. And then if I scroll all the way to the bottom, I'll just go all the way down. I go all the way down. And then if I'm scrolling up, these are all the custom filters that I've added into my account. In fact, I think I had to have a couple accounts because I ran out of space. And there's just a lot of really cool things that you can do with that. You can create logical statements, if-thens, a lot of fun stuff.
All right, so there's another real common question. This person, Nang, wants to know how to scan for low float with massive volume or high volume. It's a pretty simple one.
Scan for low float with massive volume. Yeah, I mean, that's very, very simple to do. So let's start, fresh, and you can go here and let's just open up. Maybe we could do that through a top list window. Really give us kind of an indication. So the first thing that we're going to want to do, let's right-click in this window. Let's start from scratch. All right, let's go. I'm going to go to float here, and I'm going to bring that in. I'm going to add the filter, and I don't really know what I want to put here yet. I'm going to hit this magnifying glass. And this magnifying glass is going to give me a peek into the data. So this is all the data right here as it pertains to float. 7,000 symbols that have float data in it. And I could start manipulating this just to grab the guys with low float. Don't know what that number is going to be, and it could be trial and error. if I keep the value at this number right here, let's do it at 5 million, there are 271 symbols that can possibly meet that criteria. So let's start there. That may be too high, but that's something that you can always adjust in here. So now we've got stuff with some lower float, and I want to make sure that there's some high volume today. And probably the easiest thing when we're talking volume is relative volume. If I put just a starting value of 2 in the minimum, now I'm looking for stocks that are trading at least 2 times their normal volume today. I could then even say, on average, I want to make sure that that stock is doing 500,000 shares. So now 2 times relative volume, on average it does 500,000. I'm in that lower float area. And then I need to decide what columns, what data points do I want to look at. So I want to look at the symbol, I want to look at price, I want to look at change from the close. Definitely want to look at float. I definitely want to look at relative volume. What else? I don't know. That's a good place to start, right? And let's just start there and hit OK. And we'll call this low float, high relative volume. Now, I don't know, Steve, you might have done that a different way, but this right here, and this is looking at the snapshot at this point in time. If I wanted to look at, say, a particular time of day, not that one, time frame, use historical date, and I could say I want to look at what this looked like at, say, 11 a.m., 11:19, and those were the symbols that made that. I wouldn't suspect that this would change too dramatically through the day. Maybe a few symbols would get added as volume starts to increase, but the ability to manipulate the data. Come here, shortcuts are great too. If I just left click on that icon, I can get right to the relative volume, and I can change that maybe to 1.25. Maybe that was too restrictive from a volume perspective. That didn't give me a whole lot more, but maybe my float, that was another one of my constraints. So maybe my float happens to be, a little bit constrained. Maybe this should be 10 million.
And just to add to that, you could also add, for the person who asked this question, based on the question and the way you asked it and what you're looking for, you could also pop in there a short float percentage, which just would be a little extra sprinkle on top if you're finding a low float stock that has very few shares in circulation, but also happens to have 40 or 45% short the float. That's good information to know as well, and we can pull that data for you.
Absolutely.
Also.
And that brings up a great point, Steve. A lot of times when I build a window, it's not always relevant. The columns that you have visible are not always necessarily relevant to your filters within the strategy. You just may want to know, some data points. And so just adding that column just gives you the ability to, to view that data along with the other data that's visible. Colorizing the software. I mean, that kind of, we work a lot with colors. You see this trend change has just so many different colors in it. And we give you, those colors all mean something. They highlight data points. For instance, if I wanted to, highlight this relative volume column to make it more reflective of the different values, I can just right-click on the column heading, select custom colors. I'll use the default that's set up, and now I've got an automatic gradient looking at, it's a small list, so I don't need to, but a gradient that looks at that relative volume and gives me a color that's associated with the depth of that volume. And so the colors aren't just sitting here to kind of look pretty. They do all have relevancy. Like when you look at the dollar volume, column that we have on the trend change lubricant over here, it's a gradient color. And when that's darker, that's a much bigger value. And when you're sorting on, another value, those dark ones just stand out. And so that's part of the value of the colorization.
Here's another really good common question, Brad. How do you scan for 5 consecutive candles, up or down? And it might even be worth explaining how we scan for the down candles using the
Awesome.
trade ideas and logic.
That's a great question. Let's do it. I'm going to go right into, I'm going to do this in a top list window. It can be done in an alert window. The top list window, let's just set it up. I'm going to start from scratch. And we've got a great filter on here called consecutive candles. Now, first of all, we have to decide, what are we looking? So you want 5 consecutive up or down? What minute? Let's do 1 minute candles here. So let's take that consecutive candle. We're going to start off and we're going to build the 5 consecutive up candles. Might be a little confusing to start building the down ones because we don't really know what to do, or we may not know what to do. So let's go ahead and show the column. I don't want to show the column. Why am I doing that? I want to go ahead and add the filter. And the filter that I'm going to add is I want this to be at least 4 1-minute up candles, consecutive, right? So that's going to be the main filter that I have on here. It's probably, I'm going to go ahead and just put in 500,000 shares just to kind of keep out the low volume stuff. But so we're going to look for 4 consecutive candles. I want to make sure that that column is visible, and it is. And let's just go ahead and hit OK. And let's also, the top list, we want to go ahead and sort on that particular filter. There we go. So now this is giving me a list. This was at the close. These were all the stocks that had 4 or more consecutive 1-minute candles into the close today. If I wanted to configure the absolute opposite of it, I would just right-click on my window, duplicate it, right-click in here, go to Configure, and I could go in and change the settings myself if I wanted to, but not knowing what to do, I'm going to hit Flip. And it's going to go ahead and reverse the relevant filters and not do anything with the filters that it shouldn't do anything with. So what it did was it kept the volume the same, but it went in and now it changed my 1-minute consecutive candle to look for 4 candles down in a row. If I go back to Windows-specific filters, you can see what it did right here. It made my max value -4. And so if I hit OK,
you know, I think I have a good way to explain. If you go back to configure the -4, some people are probably scratching their head. Well, why is it -4? And I think I've come up with a decent way to try and explain that. If you guys remember from math class in school, you have a linear number line. You got your negative numbers to the left of 0, and then your positive numbers to the right of 0. If you think of this like a linear number line, you're basically going past 0 down to -4 and then blocking it. Nothing more than -4 is going to be shown, and that's the way we need to talk to the servers to make that that distinction.
And you know, it's exactly the same if we were doing a filter on change from the close. If I wanted that stock, it had to be up 3%. I'd put a 3 right here in the minimum value. But if it had to be down at least 3%, thinking the same thing that Steve was talking about with the number line, you know, I look at it, I need to go to the left of 0 all the way to -3, and then everything to the left of -3 is in play. And that's kind of how this works. And again, if you don't know how to do it, if that just didn't stick, that's okay. Use the flip. Do what's logical, make it simple, do what's logical, and then just flip it.
Another good question. Oh, I'm sorry, finish your thought, Brad.
Well, I was just dealing with this very same issue with a customer. Let me pull it up here. I'm going to go to my cloud, and I've got 5 consecutive 1-minute down candles, and I did it in an alert window. And it's this is kind of a non-standard way to do things, but it just kind of illustrates the point that there are a lot of different ways to do the same thing. And so this right here is an alert window looking for any time there's 5 consecutive 1-minute down candles, it's going to go ahead and give me that indication. But how did I do it? And this is where it comes a little confusing, but I basically went in and I assigned a bunch of different alerts. Any of those alerts could trigger the strategy as long as my constraints for my filters, I had 5 consecutive down filters, were satisfied. So again, if you have questions on creating a strategy, use our resources, shoot us an email, info@TradeIdeas, give us an English description of what you're trying to do, and we can interact with a cloud link showing you the filters that we use, and it really makes it easy. And the cloud link allows us to configure it on our side. Right-click here, save or share to cloud, and then I can take this link right here, this link, and I can email it to you, and you can take it, grab that link, copy it, and you can go ahead and load it up right from the channel bar if you want by dropping it in this field right here and loading it, and it'll just be visible to you, so we can interact back and forth in that fashion.
Wemby, one more good question here. Somebody's wanting to manage stocks that are very close to earnings or have just come off of earnings. You see Moshi's question there. might be a good one to end on.
So yeah, we have an earnings filter in the software. I'm going to go into configure, and I'm just going to go to search. Search is kind of a little bedrock for places that you want to find things. So I'm going to just type in earnings, and earnings date. That's the filter that we want. And I'm going to go ahead and add the filter, and we have a little bit of help as it pertains to earnings date. I'm going to hit that magnifying glass again, and I'm going to go to histogram. No, I don't want to do histogram. I'm going to go to calendar, and I'm going to move the slider around, not even knowing what I'm doing, right? You can see here that I have just, using that slider, I have just accommodated earnings from yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And I did that through the filters. And again, if you don't know how to do it, you just hit that magnifying glass and come here. And it'll tell you, it'll give you that graphical visualization as to what you're looking for. So a minimum value, this is looking back in time, one day. If a earnings announcement was this morning, you would have a value of 0.25. If it was this afternoon, or if it was during the market hours, it would be 0.5. And if it was after hours, it would be 0.75. So the first part tells you how many days ago, and then the other qualifier lets you know when during the day that happened.
Just to clarify, can we do minimum values below 1? Like he's wanting to know stuff that's within 0.25. How would
Sure, absolutely.
we do that? Okay, good.
Absolutely. So yeah, this is and another thing. I think the example is probably the best place here. So if you just wanted to do yesterday, in the near future, these are some examples. You click on it, and it'll tell you exactly how to configure it today before the open.
Cool.
All right, guys. Do you have any more questions? We're about an hour in. We do have another webinar. God, I think I went through this whole thing and I didn't even bring Scott in. Scott, are you there? Did I lose you?
I thought you were saving the best.
Wow.
I thought you were going to save the best thing for last.
Sorry, buddy.
Yeah, if you're done with the questions, I don't know if anyone has anything else that's. Yeah, this is being recorded, so it'll be up as long as the file doesn't get corrupted. It'll be up late tonight or tomorrow morning, and you'll all get an email tomorrow with a reminder of which playlist it's on and a link to it. So just keep an eye out for that. Brad, good session today. Lots of good questions in the chat too. Do you want to pull up that slide? Yes, PJ, they are in our YouTube channel, youtube.com/trade-ideas, and then click on playlists, and you'll find the various webinar playlists. So, hey, thank everyone for attending. We're a software as a service company, and something I like to do to thank people for attending is give a little discount, make it a little bit less painful to go ahead and try us if you haven't, or upgrade. So if you use that QA demo, all caps, QA demo on checkout using a credit card, you can save 15% immediately on the checkout for your first month or your first year. And then you renew, no contract, and it's very easy. And if you want to upgrade, either just buy the upgrade and email us, or just contact customer service, and one of our customer service guys will help you out, guys or gals. You can go to tradeIdeas.com/price to get there. There is also a handouts in your handout panel with this information on it if you'd like it. Again, this is recorded. It'll be up probably before tomorrow morning, and I want to thank everyone for joining us. You can follow us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. We do post some different things there. Brad is brad@trade-ideas.com. Info@trade-ideas.com is the best place to go with questions. That goes directly into our Help Scout, support software, and gets routed to the appropriate person. The phone number, calling for the phone number is the best place probably to get billing help, but I would not call that with trading questions. Trading questions goes to info@trade-ideas.com, because if you go to the phone number with the trading question, the customer service agent there probably does not trade and will not have an answer for you, but what they will do is forward your answer to the appropriate person. So it's about the same as going to info@. Thanks everyone for attending. Thanks, Brad. Good prezo. Thanks for helping out Steve and everything. And I will see Steve and Andy tonight in the Trade of the Week webinar. If you're not signed up for the Trade of the Week, sign up for it, and then you get the invitations to that webinar. And it's always going to be a good one. And I think Steve's probably got something ready for tonight. All right. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thanks. Have a good one.